Listen, man, I don't think I even need to say how weird and inconsistent this Bulls team is. We've been talking about it ad nauseum all season, losing to teams you would expect them to beat and then beating teams in convincing fashion when you would otherwise expect them to struggle. We will never be able to figure this team out, plain and simple, we won't. But if there is one thing we can say about this team is that they do come ready to play for the big games. Usually anyway, not all the time, but usually. And that can maybe give us some confidence going into the play-in game. And then the other piece that we do know is that this team is better with Javonte Green in the lineup. The Javonte Green effect is real, ladies and gentlemen. The energy, the flow, the rhythm of the game, the effort, and the atmosphere is just different when Javonte is on the court. I know that sounds like major recency bias and prisoner of the moment, and okay, maybe to some extent it is, but consider this for a second. Javonte Green has now played in 4 games, which yes, I'm aware is a very small sample size, but in the minutes that Javonte has played, he's been a plus 32 in box plus minus. The Bulls have a net rating of plus 15.5 when he's on the court versus when he's off, and when Javonte wasn't with the team in their last game against the Atlanta Hawks, the Bulls' energy, the vibe was completely different. The level of effort on both ends of the floor, simply put, was not there. Now, it shouldn't have to be that one player has that kind of impact on your overall level of effort on the court for the rest of the team, especially a role player like Javonte Green, but it's just so noticeable how this team gets up when they see a guy like Javonte giving it his all on the court, especially when you consider what he's had to do to get himself back into the league after all the injuries he's gone through over this past year. The fact that Javonte Green, and I tweeted this earlier during the game, after being out for over a year and coming back and having just played 4 games, this being his 4th game, gets a career high in points and rebounds, secures the first double-double of his career off the bench with 25 points on 10 for 14 shooting and 13 rebounds, 5 offensive boards for second chance points, and a block and a steal. The dude was just making plays on both ends, impactful, winning plays, and yes, again, I know it's a small sample size, but the level of impact Javonte Green has cannot be understated, and it makes me so happy that the Bulls have signed him for the rest of the season, which includes the play-in and potentially the playoffs should the Bulls get there. This was the most up and out of my seat I've been all season long, seeing Javonte's effort out there and some of the dunks, man, that reverse windmill, like how is that possible given his injury history? It's just incredible. Now, there were some things that ended up benefiting the Bulls in this game. Josh Hart obviously getting thrown out of the game in the second quarter after a flagrant 2 on Javonte Green. That certainly helped, as he's kind of a Alex Caruso type player for the Knicks in terms of the level of impact he brings to the team, which I'll be honest, that was a questionable flagrant 2. I can understand it being a flagrant 1, but that's not really Josh Hart's personality to make dirty and unnecessary plays like that. I'm not going to complain because it helped the Bulls, just thought it was a bad call to have him get thrown out for something like that. That said though, while the Knicks lost Josh Hart, the Bulls also lost Coby White in the first half from an apparent ankle injury and did not return in the second. Only played 14 minutes and was a plus 14 in those minutes. And then, of course, the Bulls lost Alex Caruso in the final minutes of the game, which you really hope everything is okay with both those guys. Billy Donovan did say at his post-game presser that he hasn't received any updates on the severity of their ankle injuries, and he'll learn more shortly, but having these guys get hit with injuries in the final games of the season, when really the Bulls probably could be resting some of these guys and resting up for the play-in against the Atlanta Hawks. Like, I get it. I go back and forth between just having these guys rest because the 9 or 10 seed really isn't going to matter knowing this team. Like, as much as home court would be nice, this team is so unpredictable that I don't think you can definitively say that having the game at home versus on the road is going to have that much of an impact. But at the same time, as I've said before, I also get keeping the rotations consistent when heading into the play-in, especially when you consider all the injuries that the team has had thus far. But yeah, I mean, it's things like this that make me uneasy about continuing to play these guys in the final games of the year when you see both Coby and Alex Caruso go down and head to the locker room. Hopefully they're just some tweaks to their ankles and they'll be right back at it and ready to go on Sunday against Orlando. But we'll have to wait and see how these guys respond tomorrow. The other guy I wanted to call out in this game, who I joked was going to go for a 40 piece in this one with the way he started things out and putting up 14 points in the first quarter. Obviously he didn't go for 40, but just another great game from Dosunmu. The hustle and effort on both ends, the decision making and shot selection has just been so much better for Ayo this season. Tonight, 24 points, 10 for 20 from the floor, 3 for 7 from deep, 6 rebounds, 5 assists and 2 steals. Again, I still can't get over the steal of a contract they got this kid for. I actually have a video coming out on my NBA channel talking about bargain contracts that were signed this past offseason, which Io is going to be on that, so keep an eye on that for tomorrow. Yeah, you know, Vucevic, freaking Vucevic, man. The dude was pissing me off the whole game. Just the lackluster effort in the paint, getting outworked by Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, letting Precious Achiuwa getting rebounds over him, making these careless moves trying to handle the ball through traffic in the paint and then turning it over. And then just as I'm about to go off on this guy, he sinks that big three in the final minute and a half of the game, arguably the biggest shot that sealed the game for the Bulls to put them up 8, I believe it was, and really took the life out of the Knicks when they thought they had a shot at coming back and winning this game. Vucevic only took 2 threes and he made both of them. Finished the game with 16 points and 13 boards to go along with 4 assists. I mean, you look at the box score and you think this was a decent game for Vucevic, but I did not like his effort out there, and I know that's kind of always been the case with Vucevic really ever since he's come to Chicago. But by contrast, it was seeing how much hustle Drummond was giving tonight off the bench. It made me angry because all around Vucevic is a more skilled player than Andre Drummond, but Drummond puts in the work and fights for loose balls and will work hard on the defensive end as well, which is not something you can say for Vucevic. Great game for Drummond tonight, by the way, 10 points, 16 rebounds. Like, one of the things I worried about in this game was the Knicks dominating the Bulls on the boards with their size, especially with Mitchell Robinson back and OG Anunoby also back in the lineup, who missed the last 9 games. I thought the Knicks were going to kill the Bulls in the paint, but the Bulls out-rebounded the Knicks 57-38 and outscored them 62-50 in points in the paint. And while yes, some of that is credit to Vucevic, a lot of that goes to Andre Drummond and Javonte Green for their hustle plays. Oh, also, DeMar DeRozan was a little quiet in this game in the first half and then picked things up in the second half, particularly in the fourth quarter, as he usually does. But he finished the game with 20 points and 10 assists, which means the Bulls had 4 players with double-doubles tonight, which I feel like I heard on the broadcast. I mean saying this was the first time the Bulls had 4 players with double-doubles in a game since 2003. A game in regulation, that is, because the Bulls actually did have 4 guys with double-doubles in the same game, but it went to overtime. But anyway, crazy stat of the night for the Bulls. Also, kudos to DeMar for snagging 10 assists in this game and finishing with a +4 in the night, impacting the game even when he wasn't scoring the ball, but doing what the Bulls needed him to do and getting some big buckets in the fourth quarter. Because the Bulls definitely needed his offense after a pretty lousy third quarter when they let the Knicks right back into this game after taking as large as a 20-point lead and letting the Knicks cut it down to 4 at one point. But the Bulls prevailed, showed great resilience, and closed things out in the fourth quarter, while the Knicks never led in this game despite keeping it close to the very end. What a game. Good win for the Bulls. They're a full game ahead of the Hawks now for 10th, or sorry, I should say for 9th. Bulls got the Magic on Sunday in Orlando. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.